We've seen the protests all last week in cities across the country in the wake of the death of Houstonian George Floyd. There have been many arrests as well for offenses that range from destruction of property to failure to disperse. The bottom line is those arrested were taken into custody, and then what? Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg is here. Kim, thank you for joining me here. Tell me about the procedure for charging when you have that many people being arrested, as we did last week in Houston. What's the procedure for those folk?
Well, you start out with the priority of public safety, protecting the peaceful protesters from non-peaceful ones, protecting police. It was all about human safety. I know there's been concern about damage to property, but I can tell you as the DA, I was in contact with police chief and command staff. Our lawyers were out in the field, 5 of them, initially only 2, but the protests grew and grew, and so the priority was public safety. As the arrests were made, then the priority became the constitutional rights of those people who were being detained and arrested, meaning while we thought we might have to hold them more than 24 hours because so many people were coming in and being processed by our lawyers, it ended up that we did not hold anybody over 24 hours. So now there's approximately 500 people who have pending charges. And it's pretty easy, Cambrell, to divide those people into the folks who were making a statement by refusing to leave after being ordered to disperse, which is one type of crime. It's basically civil disobedience. But there are others who were intent on harm. And while there were a lot of there was a lot of street talk about organizational domestic terrorism. Really, the evidence didn't bear that out. There were very few people caught with weapons. There was one person caught with a small cache of weapons and kind of questionable things, but we can handle that. Amazingly, only a few people were charged with assault. Those very specific instances where harm occurred, those folks may be handled differently. But right now, I met with our young prosecutors to ascertain what they thought the appropriate treatment should be. And I think what we're going to try and ensure is some uniformity in the way we handle the cases in court. And last, we want to do no harm. You know, it's our city suffered, but not like others. Our city is unique in our ability to come together, even if we're yelling at each other, but not harm each other. I'm really proud of Houstonians. I'm proud of the police. I'm proud of our lawyers.
Let me ask you this. Something else has been on your plate, and you've been very active in this regard. Lots happened after the Harding Street raid happened. Of course, 2 people shot to death by police. It turns out the information that was used to get the warrants for that raid may have been a lie. Officer Gerald Goins was indicted and charged with felony murder, accused of tampering with a government document. So let's talk about that. You've been dismissed. Dozens of cases have been brought in, and evidence related to Goins being dismissed. How many have there been, and how many more do you expect to be dismissed?
Let me say, we're reviewing 14,000 cases by the entire squad. Now, not all those cases resulted in arrests or convictions. It's a number that diminishes each time you put a filter on it, right? But we are reviewing that. Remember, I have very few lawyers. It's quite a strain with the police shootings. Our team goes out to every one. But the bottom line is that we believe the evidence shows Goins lied on a sworn affidavit to a judge to get a warrant to bust into the Tuttle Nicholas home. The result was they and their dogs were killed at the hands of the government. This is as serious as it gets. What's terrible about this, other than the obvious death and trauma to the people and the families, is that it has shaken our community's faith in our police department. And I think that that's why we're working so hard to get to the bottom of what really happened and to make sure that we don't just probe one incident, but that we take a look at the entire infection, if you will, and that we get it all. Because our democracy depends on people believing that our system can be fair. And what I want to challenge our community to do is be involved. If you get a jury summons, please attend. If you're on a panel, be fair. Don't tell us you can't keep an open mind. That's a deliberate attempt to get off a jury. Can be. So it's up to all of us to really participate in holding corrupt cops accountable. And we have gotten support from the police department, but our investigation is truly independent.
Right.
The lawyers and our investigators are doing it. We don't have another police force to investigate this police force. That's in part our job. So we're doing it. I expect that the public will get more results in the very near future.
Right.
I've told them that phase 2 involves supervisors and other individuals who were involved in other cases, not just this shooting.
You said something to me about something you found out as you've looked into the Goins cases about the demographic makeup of the people who you allege he impacted in the criminal justice system. Talk about that.
Well, what our evidence is showing is that Gerald Goins predominantly preyed on African-American or Latino targets, and that most of his subjects, he got small amounts of dope. If, in fact, he was lying about the facts behind the Harding Street case, which we believe he was, then we have to presume he was lying in his other cases, and we do. And we bookended, right now, we've been able to go back as far as 2008 and show that he lied in some eyewitness cases. I think we're going to go back farther than that.
You've indicated to me that
we clear people who were wrongfully convicted.
And that made me, we've been looking at the tragic death of George Floyd up in Minneapolis, and I understand that one of the cases that Goins was responsible for included Mr. Floyd, correct?
Yes, in just one of those horrible coincidences, which I would suggest is not just a coincidence, but a product of a systemic problem in the way drug enforcement occurs. George Floyd was one of Goins' victims. He was convicted by Goins in a one-witness case back in 2004. We even sent Mr. Floyd a notice, but because all we had was his last known address, I don't believe he ever received it. He would have been entitled to relief, and posthumously, we can't necessarily grant that, but I'm gonna see what we can do. Everybody who was wrongfully convicted by Gerald Goins or any of the other officers in the squad need to have their names cleared. That's part of seeking justice.
Kim, I want you to stick around. We're going to do a quick, we're going to get a Newsmakers Extra because I want to ask you about the transparency that you propose for your office about the shootings that have been happening here in the city of Houston, okay? Stick around. We're going to do a new Newsmakers Extra with Kim Ogg in just a moment. Go to click2houston.com for that.